G'day there, and thanks for tuning in. This is a short video to go through the assignment task for Analyse and present research information, which is BSBRES401A. It's our only unit that's about research and writing reports, basically. Although it's got a very long title, hasn't it? So there's two tasks within this, but the second task is a really big one. The first task isn't so bad. First task is actually your plan of activity. So submit a research brief or a plan for your main report. I need to refer to task 2 about the report. And the plan is going to tell me what the topic is of your research. And it needs to look at your research objectives. So what is it you want to achieve from your research? And that'd be based on your research questions. So the questions are the things that you want answers to, aren't they? How much will these things cost? What's the energy needed? What is the market research telling us about the demand for a particular product? Whatever it is, they have to be a series of questions that you're going to answer with your research, and that will inform your research objective. And hopefully you'll reach that objective and make some recommendations at the end. How are you going to do the research? In other words, your research strategies, including the planned sources of information and the methods of collecting that information. So we have to use the internet here, not because I say so, it's because the standard says we have to, and we have to be able to use the advanced search functions for the internet. So I need a bit of information in that planning of gathering information that tells me that you can use the advanced search functions within the Google or whichever search engine you might choose. So the source of information, they could be interviews with people, they could be web-based research, could be getting manufacturers' brochures, could be all sorts of things that you're going to do. But also, not just how you're going to get the information, but then how you're going to analyse it. That's the next point. Your proposed methods of data analysis. How you're going to put all this together and make some decisions about it. So if it's you're researching, some complicated product or something, then you might have a comparative analysis against all of the different models and makes of a particular item with all their features, and you identify which are the ones that are most important for you or your business, and that will be a comparative analysis against those important features, and it'll be fairly clear to the reader then why you've chosen the one you did. And also a little bit of discussion about the business technology that you'll be using. So if that's the internet, computers, smartphones, whatever you're going to be, even photocopiers and things, whatever you'll be using as part of putting this research together into a report. So I need to see task 1 pretty well straight away so I can get a feel for what your research is. I don't want to be too big. That's one of the reasons I don't want to get onto task 2 until you get feedback from me, because I don't want you to be like spending the rest of the year, if you like, because the questions you're asking are so big. And I don't want it to be too easy either, so we're just going to find the middle ground there somewhere that's going to satisfy the requirement of the unit and not make it too hard for you. So task 2 then is actually put the report together. Once you've done all your data analysis from all the research, then obviously you're going to present that in a way that's going to be convincing to me and any other reader that the process you followed makes sense, it's a logical sequence. You present clear conclusions based on that logical analysis that you've put together, and then you'll make some recommendations for future action because it's so compelling. We should do this, I've decided that, and it's a matter of you convincing us of that. So in the report then, it's good to use graphics and tables and things like that because they're easy for people to understand, present your argument quite well. So if you can work them in, that's a good idea. There's a required format though, and I'll just go through that. Create a title page, create a table of contents page, or a table of figures as well. If you've got figures and diagrams and things through there, then have a table for those as well. Create a paragraph heading system for ease of reading and scanning, and that way you can refer people to paragraph 1.2 or whatever it is. A numbered system is a good one, but it doesn't have to be. As long as there's a logical heading system, that's fine. Include an executive summary. So these are sometimes called abstracts and other things, but basically it's a summary of your work. So it's a brief description, a couple of paragraphs only, about why you're doing the research, what was involved, what you found out, and what are your main recommendations. Not all of them. If you've got 10 recommendations, don't put them all up in there, just the important ones. Okay, so this is just for lazy readers, if you like, or politicians even, who don't have time to read the whole report. They'll just read the executive summary. At least they'll go away there with a fair degree of understanding of all the work we did and what it resulted in. But it's a business practice to have an executive summary, so we need to see one. It then talks a bit about the introduction that needs to clearly identify the issues and the scope of your research. Oh, I should mention on the title page, it's a good idea to what they call a letter of transmittal. In other words, just the authorisation for you to do the research. If it's just because you're doing it for this unit with the Polytechnic, then that's fine. Just it's required by this unit for the course you're doing. That's okay. Where are we down to? We're done an overview of all your findings, the main points, and supporting arguments in the body of the report. I'm making a point here again about use graphics where applicable and present data in a way that facilitates ease of understanding. Include conclusions and recommendations. Has to have recommendations, otherwise it doesn't meet the requirements of the unit. Include examples of research data and pamphlets, brochures and information from websites, etc. So if you've designed a questionnaire, then this is where all the raw data is, but the analysis of the data, that will be in your main body of the report, and there might be a table to give you percentages of what people responded with and things like that. So there'll be appendices at the end of the report. And then acknowledge or reference all included information that have come from outside. So if you've interviewed someone, then just a date and reference to that person in the interview. If you've read it in a textbook, then we need to reference the textbook, or you've got it off the net, then reference that, and that's usually just the website with the date it was accessed, things like that. But in the induction information that you're given before you start the course, there's links there to university about referencing, and you'll find in the Harvard system, if you use the drop-down menu on the UTAS site for that, it'll give you every instance you could possibly think of about how to reference it, and this is where your reference list comes in. So please use that if you're not sure. So before submitting the draft, I need to see the draft from you before you go to the final copy. Discuss it with a colleague to obtain feedback, and then edit the draft based on that feedback. So ensure that your colleague makes some written comments about the draft and present these with the final report. So I need to see that other people have looked at it and you've refined and taken into account their comments. If they don't do it, then I'll give you my comments and you can refine and take those into account. Anyway, so that's it, a big report. A couple of thousand words usually covers it, sometimes a bit more depending on how enthusiastic you become with the topic. So I look forward to receiving that by the due date, and see you later.